Good evening, guys, and welcome back to the 12-minute classroom. This would be episode 4, and we will be tackling another set of operations. We'll see if we can finish all of the operations right now. There's quite a few of them left. Uh, three. There's seven more important operations that we will go through. So we'll see if we can do it within 12 minutes, just like before. Here's the timer. And let's switch over to the classroom and then go from there. Okay, we're in the classroom. Timer I have here. Let me put this down and let's begin. All right. So last time we skipped on break. What is break? Break is just like the trim command, but without needing to put fences or the scissors like we did last time. So the command for break is break. Break. Let's see if we can use just B. No, it's different. BR? Yeah, it's BR shortened. Okay, so break, if it asks us to select an object, for example, we have two entities here. We have the circle and the square or the rectangle. Let's choose the circle here. And then immediately it asks us for the second breakpoint. So where you choose or select the entity becomes the first breakpoint, and it will always break the shorter length of whatever entity you are trying to break up if it's closed. So if I choose the second point to be here, it breaks that. If I want to do it again, select here to here. So it gets rid of that part there. So basically this is an array type of erase where you can just remove a part of an entity, and it splits the entity into multiple uh, entities. Okay, so that's break. Next we have scale. Scale is basically mm, it's uniform in CAD. So for example, we have this rectangle right here. We want to shrink it down to like half the size. Scale works with how you say it in math. It works with whole numbers. So when you're using scale, 1 is 100%. So if you want it to be shrunk down to half, you need 50%, which is 0.5. So what you can do is to select an entity, invoke scale by SC, pressing SC, specify the base point. So we will uniformly scale using this lower center as the base point. And then we can tell the computer, we can use visual feedback or tell it like 0.5, and then it scales it down to exactly half of the original size. So this would be useful in a lot of applications, especially if you are doing a ratio and proportion thing with your whatever you're trying to draw. Okay, next we have Fillet, which is basically a command that allows us to create uh, a 90-degree angle or uh, a curve in between two lines. So for example, this we have a polyline there. let's create another polyline here and see how Fillet will affect them. If you invoke Fillet, the default radius should be 0, but let's just check it here. To check the radius, we can actually click it here or type in the color blue, which is R, and then shows us that the Fillet radius right now is 0. And so if we're okay with that, so we'll just retype it in or not, just press spacebar again. And then we want to fillet this line and this line, so we'll select that one and then select second object, this one, and then the fillet will automatically be applied. Alternatively, I'm gonna undo that original command by pressing U, so U returns us back, just like undos in desktop applications. So if, for example, we want a curve between them, you would want to increase the radius. So for now, since we're not doing precision yet, let's just say we want a radius of 3 units in between them. So we will re-invoke the command, which is fillet, and then press R to specify the radius. Let's say it's going to be 3 units. We'll choose the first and the second object. And then if we zoom in here, you can see that there has been a 3-unit radius that's been created in between the two lines, not just a direct what do you call this, angle in between them. Next, we have array, which is useful for different scenarios. For example, if we want to create a colonnade, or for example, the what do you call this, hours and the indicators on a clock face, we can do that. So there are two types. There's a rectangular array, which moves objects like this, or a polar array, which requires a center point, an axis, and then it moves objects like that way. It rotates objects around an axis. So let's put a center here, so we can see a polar array in action. Let's create a circle that will serve as our clock. This will be our 12 o'clock here. And then we want to move it around this axis. Now, in more recent CAD like this one, if you do an array, it changes the ribbon. Before, when you do array, you get a window. Now you get nothing, you get the ribbon. So we will invoke array AR, and then what is it asking us to do? It wants us to select objects that we will array, so we'll choose this one. And then let's say we want a polar array, so I'll click it here to show polar options, and then base point and axis. So we'll go with the center point of array. So this is the first one, is the one that we want, the center point, which will be here. And then it shows us a preview of the array. You can see here the type of the array is polar. The item count is 6. Let's turn that to 12, and it will show us a an array of 12 objects here. It fills out 360 degrees. This is degrees. So for example, we want it to fill out just half of it. You can say 180 there. And then you can see that it fills out just 180 with 12 circles. And then this is the angle in between. It changed. So yeah, if we're good with that, we can just close the array. But we wanted a clock, so let's return this to 360. And then so we got our 12 hours over there. So we'll just close the array and then commit the creation of these circles here. Now you can see that they are related to one another, and we will use another operation command if we want to remove this relationship, which is explode. Explode is you use the X letter to do it. So for example, we want this to explode, X. So what happens is the connection has now been broken and all of them are their own individual entities. Now what explode does is it basically flattens down an entity by one level. So for example, if you have a group of objects and you explode it, it will remove the group first. And then if you explode it again, it will turn the entity into its baser form. For example, right here, this is a polyline, which is basically made up of 3 line segments. So if we apply explode on it, it becomes 3 separate lines. So it happens for that. For this one, as another example, if we explode the rectangle, so we select it and apply X, so it splits it up into 4 entities. You will want to use this if you want to use just one of the lines or modify just one of them. And so for this 12 minutes, I think that's all we have time for right now. So we went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that's 12 minutes. The other two, yeah, let's go through the other two because they're pretty simple. One of them is erase, which is basically a if we don't want an entity in our space, you just select it and you can press E and then commit the command and then it gets removed. Now in CAD, when you invoke a command, if you press spacebar again, the command gets re-invoked. So we erased one of these circles here. If we want to erase a few more of them, you can just select them and press spacebar again to recommit erase, and then again and again and again and again. So you don't need to be recommanding if you just need the same command to be done. And then the last operation we have here is polyline editing, which is basically with polyline editing, you're able to manipulate different polylines together with a bunch of, you get basically a bunch of options for polylines. So we will invoke the command through pedit, which is shortened polyline edit, pedit. And we want to select more than one. So for this example, we're using these 3 lines. So we'll select the multiple, select all of them, and then commit the command to use these 3. Now, because we exploded this prior, it's no longer polylines, it's lines now, and we want them to be polylines so we can use the polyline edit command on them. So we'll just say yes, and now all of them are polyline. We can now work with this polyline set. For example, if we want to see how it looks like if we created a spline using these points, you can just click here. Oh, why not? Let's try that again. It multiple 1, 2, 3, and then spline. Oh, I just used this earlier to check it. Let's try it again with a newly created polyline. So we'll do edit on this. And then, yeah, if we try to check out what happens if we uh, created spline using all of those points, that will be what it looks like. You can also try a fit, which is this one created 2 arcs, which is a little bit different from the spline, and then you can go back to the actual polyline. You can close it. What this does is it connects the first to the last point. See that happen there. Let's just undo it. If you enter reverse, it just reverses the order by which this was drawn. It becomes, this will be the first one, and then second, third, and fourth. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. With for all segments. What is this? Let's say it's 50. Okay, so it changed the width of the polyline visibly. This is useful when you're not using colors to differentiate them, but eventually we will do that. So with that, with all of these commands that we did here, we are now closing the operation command part. So that became 3 parts. This is the last one. And then I'll see you guys next time. Sorry for the extension. It became longer because of the pedit, but we will move on to other commands next time. See you guys. Take care.